but
Even though you have all these passes.
but I want to move forward on this.
It's very
sorry, okay, we're going to come to a conclusion. I want to move forward because, so, is there a recommendation that from now on we make it a $30 annual fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
For new permits, I would say.
Perfect.
Is Mayor Pilla?
To
You're up
make-
for election.
Yeah, Mayor Pilla. You're going to get an election.
I got 3
Mayor
years.
Pilla and I are being very quiet.
Well,
no, and that's not the reason why.
He's not running again. Come on.
So you just do the right thing. That's good.
No, that's not the reason why. I want to assure you. I guess if we can get a legal read, if we're giving an exclusive privilege or something like that, like if the differentiation based on the class is legally permissible to begin with.
We've been doing it for years, and it's never been a
Yes.
problem.
Yeah.
It's perfectly reasonable public policy.
Yeah.
You get senior discounts all the time.
All right, I'm gonna go way out on a limb here. I'm gonna say we're gonna make an annual fee.
I'd rather see it $20 than $30 and grandfather the.
Any other changes? Any other changes?
Just the.
Did you say grandfathering in?
Yeah.
Well, somebody's
Yeah,
already.
you really
You already
have.
have it, you're fine, but
You
it's
already
new
have it,
permits
yeah.
issued.
They bought it in reliance on the
Right.
fact that
Yeah,
it was...
exactly.
So
And-
weekday
any other-
parking was 8, it stays at 8, holidays was 9, Saturdays
There were no
was 9.
changes on the parking side.
Holidays I thought was 15 or no?
Yes, there is
Okay.
high.
They
So
are
it's
for
come down.
non-residents, they still are.
But it was 20
Came down. It was 12,
Well,
15,
yeah, but
20.
if you'll remember, mid-season, we made the adjustment
Right.
because
Right.
of
So
attendance.
Saturday, Sunday's 15,
That's
okay.
Right.
Beach access is the same.
Now, beach access for residents has come down $1 in
Right.
each of the categories, weekdays, Saturday, and Sunday.
But not holiday. Holidays stayed the
But
same
not
at
on
9.
holidays, that's correct. But again, during the normal course of events, it's $1 less for non-permit holders.
What we haven't done on this is talk about something the last meeting, which was whether or not we want to say anything. It's not a fee, whether or not we were going to have any free days for...
We do have something which Bill Lawyer is working on, which is not really...
We don't have to adopt it because
You don't
that would
have
be,
to, right.
because
You
it's
don't
more
have to vote
favorable,
it.
because it's more favorable.
I'm very aware we need to talk about the budget as well. So let's, any other changes to this document?
Yeah, I'd like to suggest that we consider like a $20 annual for the resident seniors. They really enjoy the park passively. Yeah, exactly. It's a
Right.
different type of a
$20,
use, right?
But then it's
Okay,
annual.
$20.
And
Yeah.
I would also just say, look, if we're going to keep it consistent, then let's keep, if holidays for non-residents and Saturday and Sundays are the same rate, why don't we just, for residents, it's $9 Saturday and Sunday, it's $9 on holidays.
Perfect.
Why are we having a holiday rate if we're not-
$9.
Where are you talking?
Yep.
For the parking.
Resident holiday parking?
I'm taking the notes, Bishop.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Fine.
Any other
I'm
proposed
sorry, what was
changes?
that, what was that
The
again?
holidays for residents is going to stay at $9.
Okay,
So in effect, we're getting rid of holiday pricing.
Got it.
It's your weekend
Right.
pricing.
Exactly.
Right.
So then the beach
So
access
actually, we
as
don't
well,
even need the
right?
word holidays.
We don't even
You
need
don't
the
need
word
it.
holidays,
Okay,
that's correct.
eliminate holidays.
Well, it'd be Saturday,
Except
Sunday,
for
and
not
holidays.
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, or Monday.
Yeah.
Maybe make it the same
Okay,
also.
okay, commission members, any other changes?
Yeah.
Commissioner Salnitro, any other changes?
Yeah, he was just mentioning offline to me that then the beach access for holidays should be $8 for residents as
Right.
well.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that's the
Yep,
only difference.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
So
Okay.
we're really striking the whole holiday category and
The
simplifying.
No,
the
Monday.
cost, right,
Monday's a holiday.
right. It reads Saturday, Sunday,
Sunday
and
and
holidays,
holidays.
$9 for parking, $8 for beach,
Okay,
for
got it.
residents.
Good.
Yep.
Any other changes? To get a motion to change to approve the fee schedule for 2011 as modified?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay,
One
Bishop.
last question. If we wanted to modify this midway, we could, like, if we
Anytime we want.
We did
had
that.
an upside and we wanted to
We
make
did it on
parking
the
free
spot
for
last
residents.
year.
Yeah. That's good. And we should set that as a goal.
Up to the gate and we'll change it.
Yeah.
I have,
Yes.
Yes.
Paul, on a question on do we have any other obligation for lifeguard staffing times? We're changing it from 6 p.m. to 5. Is there a state regulation out there?
The county health department regulates it. I don't, Bishop would probably know better.
No, we're okay?
No, you could close at 4 if you want. We're one of the only beaches that stays open until 6 o'clock.
But we have,
All right,
we have to post a
like
sign.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I apologize.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even had
We have to
comments
call
from the
the-
public.
Call the
So,
vote?
yes, we just call the
All
vote.
right, you have a motion by French, second by Feinstein. Commissioner Sack?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Feinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Pilla?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Carver?
Yes. Okay, the budget. The budget, everybody has, I think you had a chance to look at. I want to again thank Mayor French and Mayor Pilla. You've probably been working very hard for the town. Thank you for that. on the
Pleasure,
budget,
sir.
in fact, actually, why don't I let you gentlemen did the hard work, why don't I let you guys present it? We'll on with Mr. Nowotnik, but I'm
Go
gonna,
ahead.
I'm gonna let
You wanna
them,
start? Yeah.
I mean, a lot has changed since we had a meeting on the budget. I think what's come about is the 2010 budget, there were some things that have come about that, we're still looking to close out the 2010 budget. And so the 2011, although in theory it looks good because it's a break-even budget, or actually it's ahead 14,000, and we look at changes like shifting the staff times and making some operational changes. What's really not reflected is what happened with the 2010 budget. And I would propose that we defer voting on this until we get the answers on the 2010 budget that are still outstanding in terms of the interest rate that was charged against the 2010 budget. Because what's come about, really, it's not about this commission or about the park staff, but it's really about how the two governments speak to one another. And we've come up with, a series of ways that the governments have to work better together. For example, the city of Rye passes its budget in December to reflect what it's going to cover for the Rye-Town Park piece that it owes. But the Rye-Town Park financials don't get closed out until January. So here we've got the entity that's paying, 39% on capital, 48% on operational, and we're approving expenses before we actually know what the final numbers are. So,
well, look, I think that's very fair. There's no reason why we can't coordinate better with your budgeting process and our own.
Right.
So that we're all very much interested in improving the budgeting process. So I don't have a problem with that. Now, in terms of voting the budget, so you wanted to wait to approve the budget until you got, what are the answers that you're still outstanding? The interest rate that was applied, what else are we waiting for?
We had a whole list of questions that,
Okay.
based on us finding out that we were $142,000 short,
Right.
the city of Rye felt that we should have our controller audit the numbers. They sat down with Rye-Town staff. They're still going through some of the questions. And it's hard-pressed for me to approve a budget on something when I think it speaks more to the two governments.
Perfect. Well, that's fine. Let's wait till the next meeting to get the answers to the questions and approve the budget. That's fine with me.
But can we ask specific questions this evening that we may have?
Well, actually, no, not yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take comments from the public,
Okay.
and then if there's still time,
Well, what I'm saying is, if these questions aren't answered, I can do them, ask them specifically, then I'm not going to vote on next month's
I
budget.
understand
If I
that,
have questions...
Maybe I can make a
Yeah.
suggestion. Maybe do you mind sending us an email in the interest of time?
Yeah, but I think that the public should understand some of the concerns
Sure,
they
go
may
ahead.
have.
One-
I mean, to be quite honest, I have some concerns about why, in fact, the accounting, legal, and audit expenses draft for next year, the budget is much higher than in the past. I'd like to know why not we don't have a line for capital reserves. We've talked about this. I mean, these are important things, I think, for the community. I want to understand a little bit about, you don't have to answer it this evening, but
No,
the issues, the lower Rye-Town Park allocation with respect to medical insurance, want to understand why, in fact, it's significantly less. I mean, a couple of
No,
things
please,
like
no,
that.
no, good.
I
Just
need a
getting the
little,
questions,
just to
Sure.
understand it so that we can have, answers to this.
Sure.
That's all.
Good.
Thank
Any other questions
there
from the
are more, but
commissioners on the
that's-
budget?
A couple of things, and
Yep.
again, this is, I guess, falling in the category of doesn't have to be answered tonight, but since
Right.
we're putting it over, Bishop, I guess one of the concepts that you've incorporated is this passive park notion, which means reducing security
Yes.
during certain parts of the year, and certainly that has, I guess, savings implications for the Rye-Town Park budget, but it also increased costs for the city of Rye, because we kind of now stand in as surrogate, security guards or, providers of security through our police department. I guess what I'm looking for is, the budget last year, the labor budget for last year went over by $50,000. So if you're contemplating savings in 2011 by making it a passive park during the quote-unquote off-season, how much was really spent in wages on labor during the off-season? And, how much, aren't we just spending the same amount of money during the regular season and then and then not paying it during the off-season. So I guess I'm looking for more of a breakdown of where the labor savings are coming from, because it's going to be a passive park during the off-season. I'd also, I think, like to have a bigger contingency budget line in the budget, especially since we had an overrun this past year. And I think, Mayor Feinstein, you and I were also chatting offline that, we really need to kind of have a more substantial capital line in the budget, especially if we're going to be doing this, automated entry system. So,
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sack. Any other comments, questions from the Commission?
Chair, I'd like to incorporate another step in this process, though. One of the things we do with the City of Rye budget is the city manager proposes a budget. The council then has questions, but then we have a citizens advisory group that also represents the public to ask questions. I'd like to have them, whether it's our Rye Town Park Advisory Committee or it's a group of citizens that can now also raise questions about the budget.
That's a wonderful suggestion. I'm very happy to have the Rye Town Park Advisory Committee
Okay. Mr. Corbett?
participate in the,
Okay.
absolutely, and the more transparent the process, the better from my view.
Good.
The only thing I want to point out also, if I may, before
Please.
we move on.
Yep.
On the revenue side here, I see we're introducing the non-resident permits, but I'm questioning whether the level that we budgeted the non-resident revenue in these other levels at 98% versus last year, if there's not going to be more cannibalization of that, if these revenue numbers are realistic. I know we're trying to solve where there's as small an overage as possible. Frankly, it's a little frustrating, as I expressed in an email. It's $1 million park, and we spend $992,000 we spin our wheels, and it's really 94% for non-residents, and it just, frankly, doesn't make sense. I think the contingency is a good idea. Actually, it's definitely necessary. Well, I want to make sure that we're over optimistic on the revenue side, because if non-residents have permits, then they're not going to be at the gate. And,
Sure.
When I look at the prior years, you have 757, 868, 928, and now we're 992. I don't know whether that's optimistic or not.
Look, I tell you, I think it's optimistic.
Yeah.
This is a business. You're making a projection, and I think it's optimistic. I think it's going to be a tough year. Is my expectation.
Yeah.
In terms of contingency, just to be absolutely clear, remember, this is different than any other municipal budgeting that you do, because there's a de facto contingency, because the city of Rye, in other words, you put a contingency of $100,000 miscellaneous, it's the same as saying you're going to have a loss at the end of the year, if you will, right? Now, that contingency doesn't do anything particularly except help you anticipate a loss, if you will.
Right.
Because we're committed to funding the two municipalities, whatever operating losses incurred.
Correct, but if the budget calendars are different, we're finding out about that loss differently.
You're right, so what we've already agreed is to coordinate the calendar. Good, any other questions from the commission?
No, I want to thank Terry and Bishop, actually, and Fred and Bill for the hard work they did to make the reductions in the categories that we got on Sunday. And just for the public's edification, there's a version of the budget from Sunday, I guess, that is what we're looking at. I'm not sure what you guys...
Could you get the copies here? Would you put it online as well, Bishop?
Sure.
We'll make sure we get it online, so, again, the public has access to it. Sorry, Commissioner Salonici?
Yeah, the Rice City Controller had a communication dated January 21st to both Mr. Pickup and you, Bishop, with a whole host of questions. Have we not answered any of these questions?
We have answered virtually all of them. There are one or two items that are really subject to the auditors completing the audit. The audit is actually ongoing. They were here today, for example. We don't know quite when they're going to complete, but sometime next month, hopefully.
Do those answers need to somehow, will they impact one way or another the proposed budget? Because there were there's a lot of questions here that were raised. You don't think so?
Yeah, there are just questions about how the numbers came about.
Okay.
I did send an email back to Jean, telling her that we were in the middle of our audit and some of the numbers would change. And I didn't want to start creating schedules that may change and get more confusing. So she's well aware of it.
Well, to Mayor French's,
Right, Joe.
It's Mayor French's point, if we're going to wait for that information, until we make decisions at the next meeting, shouldn't we make sure, when is the next meeting scheduled for? Is it March what?
Third, that is March 15th.
15th.
So when you say by the middle of March, we really need to get those audited responses in prior to the next meeting.
Well, it's Mr. Sack, I can give you good comfort there, because probably the only municipality in New York State that gets its audited financial statements on time is us. To the
Okay.
day, to the day.
Typically, we finish up in April. I mean, that's typically where we finished our audit, so.
Right, but for Rydtown Park, we should be, Mr. Trenzi, we're going to have
Yeah,
the
the question
March.
is, we're centered around, we're tying back the payroll.
No, yeah, but I don't get the question. Are we going to have the financial statements ready for
I
March
would hope
15th?
before March 15th.
Right, so we'll
Okay, good.
we'll be in good shape with that.
But is every expense put on this 2011 budget? So do we know that in fact, there's interest estimated over here, or is that all reflected in these numbers?
I believe so. I think everything is there. I'm not sure that we have every nuance and detail there. I mean, give you an example, there's a new line item we installed, which was for promotion and signage this year, because we wanted to break out those costs. Our feeling was that those costs should be broken out separately. But you look at your maintenance line item, which is a $100,000 expense. We don't have that broken out in any way. That's there. You talk about your contingency. That is your contingency, is that line item.
Right, but if the city of Rye is the de facto contingency, it's going to have to pick up 48% of whatever happens. Shouldn't we be having those conversations with the city of Rye that, you know what, not everything's on the books right now, we've got these other items floating out there?
There are no items that are unknown. The only items that would come in is if you voted something in to say, we want you to do this, and then we would have to add some contingency for whatever you approved. If you changed hours, if you
There's nothing that's
created
knowingly left
beach,
out.
et cetera.
There's nothing
My
that's-
feeling is this is a budget that I put forth, and I've included as much as I possibly could. If revenue falls short, a lot of those expenses are not necessarily going to drop. Some may, but,
I'm just like an interest charge. Is the town of Rye going to
we beefed
upfront
up
money?
the interest charge. Yes, we
Okay.
beefed up the interest charge. If you look at the budget, I think we put in $20,000, which is kind of historically where it used to be. Remember, in this past year, we had the $1.4 million for the roof project,
Right.
which was an excessive amount of carrying costs that we had for this year.
And what was that
To answer
interest
your
rate?
question, Mayor French, going forward on a monthly basis, you will get an interest number that'll be recorded based on what the float is on a monthly basis.
Okay.
For the last 20 years, we've done it as a year-end adjustment. At the height, there was $1.7 million outstanding. The town had forwarded $1.7 million. At the interest rate that we calculated, these numbers start to escalate.
And what is that interest rate?
We've been calculating it at 5%. That was improved 10, 12 years ago.
Okay, but rates change, so.
That's a policy decision that the board makes. I'm just,
Well, which
Well,
board?
as Mr. Mayor French, I'm perfectly happy for the city of Rye to front the money to the parks and get 1.5% interest rate. If that's what you want to have happen, we can have it happen that way. I really have no interest in gaining interest income on the town of Rye.
No,
It's-
I mean, if there's a policy that, which board sets the interest rate?
it was agreed upon, it's been agreed, I don't know if it's in this, it was agreed upon at least 10 or 12 years ago.
Can we revisit that policy change? Because I think we should change that policy.
Not my decision.
Is that the town of Rye board, or is
I
that?
think it was the Rydtown Park
Rydtown
Commission.
Park Commission.
Okay, I think we should have that at the next meeting then to.
Sure, sure. In fact, I think we should reconsider whether or not the town even fronts the money. I don't
We're
understand why.
fronting money right now.
That's what I'm saying. Why is the town fronting the
During the
money?
winter, there's no.
I don't think there's any legal obligation that
I
the town
have
has.
a $5,000 insurance bill I gotta pay.
We have a $3.5 million budget. There's, Mayor French, I'm perfectly happy for the city of Rye to front the money. I have absolutely no need to
Then we
front
have
the money.
deficit
In
for
fact,
last
actually,
year,
quite frankly,
Until we send out the bill in June. So it's a number that's quite attainable on a monthly basis, and I'm willing to give you I told Jean I would give her the final number, because there will be some adjustments that will be made in the intercompany account that I didn't, that's where we're at. But that number's gonna be somewhere around $50,000 this year, for last year.
Okay. Well, we'll consider it if we know what the facts are. If there's an obligation, let's know what it is, and let's come to an answer. But a 5% 10 or 12 years ago doesn't fit today's model.
Yeah, we should
That's all we're
reconsider the
asking.
cost to carry, yeah.
Let's try to get that resolution to the board
Yeah.
also.
Okay, no questions from the public? Any questions, comments from the public? Well, Mr. Joffrey, I want to leave you to, oh, sorry, no, sorry, we have, got some, did you want to?
She had something else to do, isn't it?
Okay, it's going to have to be brief, I apologize, we're just,
We got to vote on this? Joe?
I just wanted to let you all know that at this point, between sponsorships and paid artist booths, and we're just really at the beginning of this, we've raised about $1,000 for the park. That should go up. I also wanted to let everyone know that we've decided on a price for the artist reception auction. It will be $25, and that will include light refreshments provided by Seaside Johnny's. And we've also started booking the music, and I encourage everyone to look at the website, which is artofthepart.blogspot.com. And I hope to see everybody out at the park on May 14th and 15th.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if we did that, Joe.
Yeah, we should definitely do this. Any other comments for, oh, please, yeah. We should have-
Hi, Ed Vides,
Reason we don't have
Portchester.
an agenda.
I watched the January
Reason we don't
18th,
have another agenda?
and the only person that made sense was Joe Sack.
Thank you. I don't know what I said that made sense, but go ahead.
You had three rainy days through the whole course of the year, yet we lost $140,000. And you can't understand it, and a lot of people can't understand it. Incidentally, welcome to Mr. Pilla. I haven't seen you in 6 or 7 years here.
Well,
So
not
glad
quite
you're
that
back.
long. I have overlapping Portchester
Yeah, right.
meetings.
Okay, anyway, that's my saying right now. But the thing is, we're top-heavy, right here, this front row, we're top-heavy, including the lawyer. If they cut their salaries in half, we don't need that $46,000, whatever he makes. We don't need that. That's why we're not making any money. Simple as that. So, if you guys think about it, you'll see that you're right and I'm right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the public? Just go up to the mic, Mr.
Joe, we don't want rebuttals on that.
No.
It was
Yeah.
my understanding that we were going to consider...
Just go up to the mic, okay.
It's something that can be done next meeting. It's my understanding that this commission was going to consider some of the fees for the pavilions that we charge. Namely,
Yeah,
okay?
we'll do that for the next meeting.
That's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much.
And a not-for-profit policy, too.
Not-for-profit. Right.
Yeah. Okay, new business, Mr. Nowak?
Yeah, we want to try and see if we can take care of this item. It's been dragging a little bit.
Yeah.
I apologize, I didn't put it on the agenda. We have a family requesting to be able to place a plaque on a bench and dedicate a bench. You have the item there. I guess it's Dickie Williams, who loved to sit on a particular bench, which is right by the Dearborn Avenue entrance overlooking the beach. They're willing to front the cost of the plaque and contribute $500 to Ride Town Park. The question here, we just felt the commission should be the ones to say yay or nay on something like this.
Perfect. Any,
Yeah, I just want to make sure the Friends of Right Town Park approved the location of that bench, and that,
No, it's a pre-existing bench.
it's a pre-existing
It's already
bench?
there. Yeah.
So we're putting a plaque on the bench,
They just want to put a plaque on the bench because that's where he sat all the time.
and then they would make a donation as a gift.
No.
And then-
questions, comments from the commission? What is it?
Well, I think for the long
It's a
term,
bench that's in between the pavilion
Yeah.
and the beach
Who's that,
wall,
Penny?
right by Dearborn Avenue, the very first
yeah,
bench.
we face a similar issue in the village of Portchester with these types of requests.
Sorry, can we have one conversation, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Mayor Pilla?
We face similar requests and issues like this in the village of Portchester, and we had staff come up with a policy, or actually our park commissioner, it wasn't the case. So at least the Right Town Park Commission has a consistent approach in case, 10 people wanted to do this.
Fine, son.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
to be quite honest, in the last 2 or 3 years, it never came before the commission,
Yeah.
but there was a bench put up and a plaque in memory of somebody else, so we really should have a policy.
Okay,
That's not to say I oppose it.
Yes, yeah.
We should, we need.
I'm not opposed to this, but we should have
Well,
written policies.
So, well, actually, I think there's two ways to move forward. One is to, I think I could completely agree with Mayor Pilla and Mayor Feinstein that we should have a policy. The question is, do you want to approve this and then come up with a policy? Okay, terrific.
Yes.
So, can I get a motion to approve? Second?
And we're also accepting a donation of $500.
Right.
Right Town Park, so it goes into the revenue side.
You didn't redo that budget.
That's a yes.
That's a second, okay. Commissioner Sack?
Yes.
Commissioner Salanitro?
Yes.
Commissioner Feinstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Pilla?
Yes.
Commissioner French?
Yes.
Commissioner Carter?
Yes, and Mr. Nwani can maybe work with Mr. Joffrey to come up with a policy for these kinds of things in the future.
Got it.
Make recommendations
All
for
right.
next time. Wonderful. Any other comments, questions from the board?
I would like at the next meeting to talk about a dog policy. Central Park has one where you do designate certain hours, and it's held up by the case law. So if we wanted to, in fact, designate before 9 o'clock, you can be off leash. It's within the park's mandate to do that. So I'll put a recommendation forward, just so everybody's clear on what the expectations are.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion, Mayor French.
But it's not an official policy.
Right, I think we need to adopt official policy and make it for the board. Mr. Lawyer? What? No, okay, hurry up.
Announcement, the dog walking group of Ride Park.
The dog walking group at Rye-Town Park is sponsoring a cleanup day on Sunday, March 6th. I think it's all day long, and so they're recruiting all their own people. But if anybody else is interested in doing something clean for the park, you can join in on that activity on Sunday, March 6th, and the rain date is the 13th.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer. Can I get a motion to bring the meeting to a close?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right,
Okay.
Mr. Romney.
All in favor?
Aye.
Where's your
7:36.
Crawford? Where's your Crawford?